Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, Navigating the Buying Process. I'm Morgan. I'm our head of marketing here at Blueboard, and I'm going to be our moderator today. And I'm joined with Taylor Smith. He's our co-founder and CEO. Welcome, Taylor.
Thanks.
We're really excited today. Taylor and I were talking about this just before we started. For those of you who know Blueboard, we've been hosting a lot of really great webinars recently, whether it's around building your HR tech stack or learning how to calculate your recognition ROI. But this is the first time we've really taken a step back and really hosted a webinar specifically about Blueboard. So for a lot of you guys joining, it seems like you maybe already know us, maybe you've spent time with us in the past, and recognition is a priority for you. And it's something that you're thinking about hopefully doing in the next few months, maybe this year. So what we're going to do today is spend a lot of time really digging into recognition specifically, recognition planning, how to really win and champion things like Blueboard or other programs across your company, and really setting yourself up for success with regards to building a solid business case. So quickly, just for a little bit of housekeeping, Taylor's going to walk us through the agenda as well and some of our goals in just a second. But today, just know for now, our lines are going to be muted. We'll definitely have tons of time for contribution at the end. You'll see on your screen a Q&A section, so that's going to be the opportunity to add questions along the way. We'll definitely be going through those at the end of the call. Anything specific, feel free to share with us. There'll also be a few polls happening throughout the event, so whenever you see those pop up on screen, feel free to participate. It's great information for us and also helps us kind of steer the content in the right direction. And then you'll see at the bottom of all the slides, hashtag navigating recognition. If you have anything you want to share or bubble up on Twitter, feel free to do that. We'll be following along with you on social media as well. Feel free to also tag us with @Blueboard. And if for any reason you have to jump off early, we will be recording this and we'll be sharing a recap on our blog in just a few days. So stay tuned for that in case you have to miss anything. So with that note, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Taylor to take us through some of our goals for today.
Cool. Thanks, Morgan. Hi, everybody. Good morning from sunny San Francisco. Excited to share with you a little bit more about Blueboard. And specifically, like Morgan mentioned, we're going to be trying something a little bit different today. We wanted to do a webinar for people who know Blueboard a bit better, and they're a bit deeper in the buying process, and they're excited to get Blueboard launched at their companies. And now that we've rolled on over 100 companies, and these are companies from all industries and different sizes. I mean, we work with tech companies like Pinterest and Lyft, public companies like Google or Pearson Education, and we also work with more traditional companies like Otis Elevators and Chick-fil-A. But across all of our deals, we started seeing that there's similarities between how recognition programs get launched at companies, and there's some similar hurdles that we saw that our champions were going through as they're trying to launch Blueboard at their companies. So today I'm here to share best practices for getting Blueboard launched to your company. So the first goal is really to just understand what those hurdles could potentially be, see them ahead of time, and know how to attack them. And the second is to learn how the Blueboard team's available to lend a hand through that process. Just because we do think of this as a partnership, we want you guys to be able to launch successful recognition programs, and our team is here to help. So today we're going to talk about 5 things. First, we're going to talk about Blueboard, just retouching on why we believe Blueboard and experiences specifically are the best way to recognize your employees. We'll talk about where recognition can get stuck during the program planning and approval phase. We'll talk about best practices for overcoming those hurdles, and then lastly, how Blueboard and our team can help you get through that process. And then we'll finish up with Q&A. So first, let's start with why rewarding with Blueboard is a no-brainer. I think most of you that are on the call would agree that experiences just seem like a better idea than gift cards or cash or merchandise when it comes to recognition. And of course, we believe the exact same thing. Experiences really are superior for every single person that touches recognition in these recognition programs. And what I mean by that is if you look at everyone that's a part of recognition, managers, for example, it feels much better to give someone a personalized experience to say thank you, to see your top employee go out and take their husband or wife to go do something amazing. That just feels much better than giving someone a gift card, and it helps build that relationship. As an employee, obviously experiences are a better reward because you get to share some quality time with a loved one outside of the office for just doing a really great job at work. So it's better for managers and employees. It's also better for companies. Companies are able to use Blueboard and they're able to use recognition now as a tool to say, hey, this is what leadership thinks about our top people. We want to invest in your time outside of work, and along the way, we're going to create stories that we can use to share across the company. So it benefits the companies as well. And lastly, one overlooked benefit, we don't talk about it a lot. I'm a big fan of it personally, but we are supporting local businesses with Blueboard. We are a funnel from companies to local small businesses in the area for these business owners that have chosen to make a living for themselves, sharing their passions, like karate, like salsa dancing, like flying with the world. And we really get a kick out of supporting those small businesses here at Blueboard. And frankly, I think everyone knows experiences are better, but in the past, they were just a pain to give. So the key thing that we've done at Blueboard is we've made giving out personalized experiences just incredibly easy, and the ability for large companies to do this at scale. And what I mean by that is managers can send experiences in under 30 seconds to their employees, so it's virtually no work. The employee gets to choose whatever experience they want, so it's super personalized. Our concierge takes care of all the booking, the planning, the payment, so there's really no work on the employee's part. And lastly, we're serving rewards in all 50 states and in over 20 countries. So not only are we personalized, but we're also really scalable. But despite all the awesome things that Blueboard is doing for its clients and all the great results that we're seeing, there's still times that Blueboard gets stuck when we're trying to help our clients roll out these programs internally for one reason or another. We're going to talk about some of those reasons. There's typically three. The first that we see is prioritization. Recognition will often get neglected in favor of other initiatives. We hear executives say things like, oh, Blueboard sounds great. We'll get to that in 2019 once we finish our HRIS integration. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you guys, but a lot of times recognition gets pushed down the prioritization list. The second is executive buy-in. We've heard a lot of executives say, Blueboard sounds fluffy. Our experience is really better than cash, and what's the ROI on this? And then lastly, budget. Budget is always a question as well, because a lot of times finance doesn't really understand what Blueboard's all about and what's included. And we hear things like people saying, oh, Blueboard sounds expensive. At $50,000, they're going to be one of our most expensive software vendors, which we're just a different product entirely. So we're going to talk about these three things and how to address them when you're trying to get your program launched. Then I think Morgan's going to run a poll. So we wanted to hear from you guys as participants, just to hear where your recognition programs might be stuck. Do you see difficulties with prioritization, executive buy-in, or budget? Cool, so we're seeing all three reasons. It looks like prioritization and executive buy-in might be the two biggest hurdles, and then budget is also a hurdle. Cool, so we're gonna address all of these, and we'll spend more time on prioritization and executive buy-in. Perfect. Cool, so yeah, let's talk about how we can get over these hurdles and how to talk about them internally. So first is we'll talk about how to justify recognition as a high priority. And so typically recognition doesn't get prioritized for one of two reasons. Either decision makers overestimate the amount of effort that it's going to take to launch a recognition program, or they underestimate the impact that recognition programs can have. And so our first tip on how to make recognition a higher priority is to contextualize the low effort, comparably speaking, that it takes to launch Blueboard. And What I mean by that is there's three main drivers of employee engagement that Gallup found. There's leadership and communication, learning and development, and recognition. And if you look at the first two, leadership and communication and learning and development, to impact those areas in your company is typically a huge, long, involved project that takes a lot of resources, a lot of time, and specifically a lot of attention and energy from executive staff. Recognition, on the other hand, has the least amount of effort, and it actually has the quickest impact out of the three. And Gallup has also called it the lowest hanging fruit, or they've called recognition the lowest hanging fruit that most companies miss. And from a time and resource perspective, Blueboard can be up and running in under 2 weeks, and it only needs one part-time resource to ensure program success. So that's one way to go about it, is just to be very clear about the fact that recognition is not a huge project that's going to take months and months and months and tons of people. It's something that can get up and running and affect culture almost immediately. Now, the second way that you can justify prioritizing recognition is explaining the potential impact of recognition. And so there's a lot of positively known effects of recognition, things like decreased turnover, increased engagement, increased business results. But one thing that really sticks out at us, Gallup just released the results on employee engagement, surveyed over 1 million employees in the United States, and a really interesting fact stuck out to us. 75% of employees who voluntarily left their jobs left it because they had a poor relationship with their manager. And at its core, recognition should really affect relationships in a positive way. And so what we see is if managers are recognizing people with cash, gift baskets, gift cards, things that aren't personal, it's either eroding that relationship or it's not doing anything positive for the relationship. Where with Blueboard, giving an experience to someone actually builds that relationship and builds trust. And so we see that being able to really potentially impact your employees' perception of their relationship with their manager. So that's just another way to think about it. Cool, so those are the two ways. Now the next thing we'll talk about are potential ways to get executive buy-in. And most executives are busy people, they're high-level thinkers, and recognition to them might just be one item on a to-do list that's 20 lines long. And across the many leaders we've worked with, there's about two approaches that seem to work best for obtaining executive buy-in. And the first is building and sharing a vision of what an awesome recognition program looks like and feels like. So many leaders think of recognition as a checkbox item. It's not something to be improved or optimized. They're not looking for the best. They're just looking to have something. And one way to shake them out of this mindset is to create and share a recognition vision of what a great program looks like. And what I mean by that is maybe you're looking for a recognition program so it feels genuinely fulfilling for a manager to recognize someone, and for the employee, it feels really awesome to receive. That could be one goal. Another goal could be having recognition that makes your employees proud to work at your company and proud to talk about your company outside of the office. Maybe another goal is you want recognition to be a reflection of your leadership's attitude towards its top people. That's another potential goal. And the three tips that we recommend for building and sharing a vision look like this. The first step is to fight the checkbox effect of just crossing recognition off the list by sharing a really compelling vision for what a great program can look like. Another great tactic is to call out specific qualities of an ideal recognition program that really support your company's culture and beliefs, because experiences widely appeal to a lot of companies and the way people feel about how their culture should be. And the last is to share a couple of examples of how your current recognition program isn't delivering on your vision for a great recognition program. So those are three tactics that you can use. Now the second way that you can get executive buy-in is to show that you've done the work and you've done all the preparation, and you show them a comprehensive implementation plan that clearly outlines the path to effective recognition. This is great for more operational leaders, people who aren't as vision focused. But the first step is to build out a recognition program plan. And you can do that in tandem with your Blueboard rep that you're working with. We've had great success doing this. We sort of piloted this in the second half of last year. We've seen some really great results. So we're starting to do that with most of our potential clients. So if that's something you haven't worked on yet or you haven't seen that template, I'll talk about that in a second. And the second step to doing that is just socializing the program plan internally. So people can start understanding the goals of the program, how Blueboard works, how and why it supports your company culture in a way that your current program doesn't, and what it'll take to get the full value out of using Blueboard. So those are 2 tips for getting executive buy-in. And the last part is we wanted to talk a little bit about how to navigate budget conversations. We typically see 2 hurdles regarding budget that come up pretty often when we're working with our clients. So the first is justifying the cost of using Blueboard. And this typically happens because finance, they just don't understand the value that Blueboard's bringing. And they make comparisons to other line items that just aren't comparable. So, for example, comparing us to software. And so Blueboard's cost obviously shouldn't be compared apples to apples to other software licenses because we're a service-based product. And our service fee includes unlimited access to our software, all the enterprise features, customer success, and our concierge service, who works individually with every employee who receives a reward. And if you think about it, our fee that we charge is just slightly more than what you'd tip a waiter for dinner, right? So it's not all that expensive when you look at it, especially when you compare that, or think about, of the invoiced amount, over 80% of those dollars are going straight to your employees in terms of value for their experiences. And the second thing that we run into is determining where to pull budget from. I think that's always an interesting conversation. And there's 3 strategies that we've seen our clients use that we thought we'd share. Obviously, every company budgets differently, so you'll have to think about how to best apply this. But the first strategy that we see is companies pulling from a centralized budget, so an HR, company-sponsored, company-wide program. Typically, this is simpler from a logistics standpoint, but what we see is that it's usually a larger dollar amount, and it goes under a little bit more scrutiny from finance. So just something to keep in mind when you're thinking about where to be pulling budget from. HR budget, usually very straightforward until it gets to finance, if sometimes it can be a large chunk. The other idea that we've had a lot of success with is using a decentralized budget. So that's actually pulling from recognition or HR people budgets in individual departments. Typically, easier to approve from the finance perspective because it comes in smaller chunks, but it is a little bit of a heavier lift from your perspective, getting buy-in from various department leads. And keep in mind, this could be pulling budget from different departments. It could be pulling budget from different regions, different locations. There's different ways, and that's why I say every company is different. But you can always think about pulling from different budgets to make your Blueboard program come to life. And the last strategy is getting creative around which budget you're pulling from. I just wanted to share one example of this. One of our clients said, "Hey, when I'm looking at my Blueboard budget, it looks pretty large from an absolute dollar perspective." But she said, "Hey, I'm going to try and get this approved out of our benefits line item. Obviously, health insurance, wellness benefits, incredibly expensive." And so she got that approved, and compared to all the other line items in that cost center, it just looks so much lower. So that's another way, is to get creative around where you're pulling budget. Yeah, so those are 2 tips for navigating budget conversations. And if I were to share 2 tips for implementing these strategies, I think 2 things come to mind. One, know your audience. Obviously, we just shared a couple of different tactics and strategies that may be helpful in your internal conversations. But keep in mind that every executive, every leader is different, and they make decisions differently, right? The vision might really appeal to your leadership, and that might be what moves them. But some companies, it's going to take an operational plan and something that's a little bit more granular to move them. So really think about your audience and who you're talking to and what specifically would get them excited about using Blueboard. And then the second part that we tell people is be ready to mix and match strategies. You may need all of the strategies, you may need a couple of them, but I would just be prepared and ready to work with different points as far as having a vision for the program, knowing how to explain budget in various ways, and just be prepared to use multiple ways to justify the program to make it a success. Cool. And so lastly, we're just going to talk about Blueboard, how we're happy to help you bring these programs to life. That's one thing that I really pride myself on. Is the company we built. We love helping our clients make these programs come to life. We're really serious about our mission. Our company mission is to inspire people to challenge their comfort zones, indulge in their passions, and to try new things. And the only way that we can make our mission come to life is if more and more companies are using Blueboard. So we do try to be as helpful as we can during the process of getting your programs launched. So now I'm going to talk together specifically about the 3 hurdles we talked about and how we can help you get through each one. So the first one is justifying prioritization. This is where there's 2 tactics, right? You can either really speak to the value and the impact of recognition, or you can talk about how there's less effort required to launch recognition than comparable projects. And so the biggest thing that we can do to help with this is we've created an awesome buyer's guide. It has tons of information about the impact of recognition, ease of implementation, and you can reach out to your contact at Blueboard. They'll make that available. And that should have tons of information for you to make that pitch internally. The second thing, for gaining executive buy-in, the whole idea of building a vision. We have a pretty cool thing that we're just launching. Again, it's something we're just testing out over the last month or so called the Blueboard Method. And it's designed to help build a compelling vision and then also to build a program that's guaranteed to work. And so the Blueboard Method is a framework that explains the 5 necessary elements of a successful recognition program. So we call them the 5 A's. So there's awareness, appreciation, anticipation, activity, and afterglow. And what we do is we're using experiences to deliver on these 5 points. And our whole goal is to build a self-reinforcing recognition program that becomes a really integral part of your company culture. So the idea is we start with awareness, we launch a program, we go through the 5 stages. The afterglow means after someone's gone skydiving, they've eaten a Michelin-star meal, they've taken their husband or wife to a couples massage, they talk about it at the office and they tell other people about it. Thus the experiences and just their natural shareability leads to that next wave of awareness. And thus it's a self-reinforcing cycle. Good joke about it. Yeah, I was gonna say we're in downtown San Francisco, so we just had a ambulance drive by. That's the noise in the background. But yeah, I'm not gonna dive into the Blueboard Method too much today or any more than this at all, but it is a really great way to think about a program, what Blueboard delivers, and how to think about your vision for what an amazing recognition program looks like. So if you'd like to talk about that, let us know. We're happy to share and walk through that with you. There we go. Next, to build an in-depth program plan, complete with an implementation timeline and business case, that's something else that we're working on and that we have available. It's a program planning template that we work with you directly to create, so you can walk into a meeting and state confidently, hey, this is our vision for a great program. Here's our current program. Here's what's not working. Here's how we're planning to address that with Blueboard. Here's what our launch looks like, our communication, and these are the KPIs we're going to be measuring to make sure that we're getting the impact that we want. It's a bit more in-depth, but it's a great way to make a program come to life and to understand what you're getting specifically when you're rolling on Blueboard. And so I just have a couple of sample slides here. We help you build a program vision that's easy to communicate. You can specifically call out benefits that affect everybody in the recognition program, the admins that are facilitating the program, the managers that are using it for the employees. And it's a great way to just show how a program like this is just so much more thoughtful and well-designed than typical recognition programs. So yeah, if that's something interesting to you, just reach out to us and we can get you that template and work with you on pulling it together. And lastly, the piece about budget conversations, every company is so different. We didn't want to create specific media around this just because they tend to be more nuanced conversations, but just know that we've spent a lot of time figuring out where to fit Blueboard in for a lot of our clients. And so if you have specific budget questions, I would just encourage you to chat with your rep, whoever you're working with, and just ask them like, hey, this is the problem that I'm facing. I have these ideas, like how have you seen other companies do it? We are a wealth of information on that, even though I don't think we do the best job of broadcasting that sometimes. So I just wanted you to feel comfortable reaching out if you do have questions like that. And yeah, so we can do a quick recap. The first thing, Blueboard, we're the only company that does experiential rewards. We do it scalably again. And I'd say, yeah, we do in all 50 states, over 20 countries. And we're the only company that does this really well. We're really excited to do that. But the thing with being a new company and a new concept is that hurdles in the program launch phase are totally expected, and it happens all the time. So if that's happening to you, just know that you're not alone. Sometimes it does take a little bit of work to get these programs launched and to get people on board. So it's totally normal. And the last thing I want to share is that you don't have to feel like you have to go at it alone. Our team is here to support you through building a program, building a business case, and championing this internally. And we want to do this. We want to help you. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to help. Yeah, that's pretty much all we have for today. We'd like to move into the Q&A session. If you guys have questions that we could answer for you.
Great. So if you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and add some questions into the Q&A. We're going to be taking those as they come in. We actually had a really great question come in so far. Josh is asking just a little bit more clarification on why we believe that experiences might be a stronger reward opportunity than things like cash or gift cards. So we really kind of see that around 3 pillars, that experiences are a lot more memorable than those items. For example, you might receive a gift card, you might buy something off of Amazon and it's nice in the moment. You might have some cool new shoes, for example, but an experience in contrast is going to have a much broader arc of a life cycle. And Taylor really spoke to that with the Blueboard method. As soon as you receive your reward, you're going to have this notion of anticipation, then you have the activity itself and the afterglow, etc., that comes with that. And the afterglow is really what makes experiences stronger with regards to memorability, because those are fond memories that you hold close to yourself and to the company. So again, helping to build employer brand and having that moment in life that happens that only the company could have given the employee. We also feel like they're very personalized. We do that at Blueboard through a curated catalog with up to 50 choices per reward level, and they're highly shareable. So that's one of the most exciting things that we're seeing happening right now is all this great content, whether it's photos, videos, even just the feedback and stories that we receive as employees go out and about with Blueboard, bringing that back to their company, having the opportunity or the channel to showcase that content, maybe in a team all hands meeting, maybe on a shared Slack board, for example. So all of those reasons are really why experiences are much more special. So thank you, Josh, for sharing that question. Perfect. Someone else asked, Taylor alluded to a buyer's guide. I wanted to definitely speak to that. Someone was asking, where can I find the buyer's guide? That's a great question too. It is on our website, but we'll make sure to share that out when we send a follow-up after the webinar. So we'll have that link available. It's a quick and easy download for you as well.
Cool. And then Robin asked a question around getting a list of countries that we serve. Just go ahead. We don't publish it currently because we do work with clients that have specific needs. So for example, Google, we're in like 23 countries and we have ways of making that happen. So the best way would be just shoot us an email and we can just make sure that it overlaps with what you're looking to do. So Robin, my email is taylor@blueboard.com. You can feel free to reach out to me directly, and we can just see if there's overlap there. Austin asked the question about tax implications. And yes, companies are allowed to deduct certain amounts up to a certain limit. Blueboard rewards typically are looked at as taxable income. And we do provide payroll reporting that shares the date of the reward was given, the dollar value of it. And there's two ways that companies handle it. Typically, most companies that we see will gross it up. So they'll cover the tax that the employee would owe on the experience. But we also see companies that don't cover it. There's two ways to handle it, but it is treated as taxable income. Good question.
Great, and then Alex asked a little bit more about the program planning guide, also some of the items that Taylor referenced. So that's a great question. We love building those out. Like Taylor mentioned, we launched that over the summer, and it's been a really great tool for some of our customers, especially when you are in the early stages of planning and you're really wanting to have that time to reflect on what has been working or what hasn't, and really building up that business case for how Blueboard can make your business successful. So a great way to access that is to connect with your current rep at Blueboard, someone on our sales team or growth team, or maybe your customer success lead. The idea is that we build that template together. So it's not a big homework assignment that gets dropped on your lap. It's a collaborative working doc where we can house in one place all of your goals, how we want to measure for success, and also work together to create a really exciting launch plan that's sticky, exciting, educational, and again, at the end of the day, helps you be set up for success when you're ready to launch your program. So that's also something we can allude to and share notes on when we share a recap in the next few days. And then one more question from Josh, just asking a little bit as we're positioning the value, not just on the kind of hard data numbers, but what are some of the softer ways that we can position Blueboard? I would say, Josh, great question, and kind of going back again to the ways that we were talking about why experiences are better. Not only, of course, Blueboard is the rewards and the experience itself, but again, more value that we can share. I don't know if we talked too much today about our concierge service. So on the product side, that's a huge benefit. It means that employees get to work one-on-one with a dedicated concierge rep. They're adding a little bit more personalization and preferences. It's a live connection and a really strong relationship that's built between the concierge and the employee. At the end of the day, we're making them feel like a rock star. We're getting them booked and out and about on their experience much more quickly than if someone had been given, for example, like a gift voucher, maybe for a spa or massage day. And really what that means is that the employee gets out and about quickly and they have that recognition moment, which we know makes them come back more motivated, more excited, kind of buzzing with energy at the workplace, which makes them a more effective worker at your company. So that's just one other great value add that Blueboard has beyond the experience itself.
Yeah, Josh, I would also add something like slightly different. I would say if you have a numbers-based decision maker and you know that about your boss or whoever's buying, I wouldn't go to them with a soft pitch personally, because if someone makes decisions based on numbers, it's probably not the best strategy to go and try and tell them the softer benefits of Blueboard. And that ties back to the idea of knowing your audience and making the pitch internally. So there are a number of ways that you can make a more quantitative pitch. One of them is citing all of the robust studies that have been done on the impacts of recognition, decreased turnover, increased engagement, increased bottom line. But the other thing you can do is create a business case specifically to something that's specific to your company, right? So we've had to do this in multiple different ways. One way might be looking at retention and saying, hey, for me to replace someone, to hire, train them up, ramp them up, it can be 50 to 200% of an employee's annual salary, right? So let's say that the cost of replacing someone is $50,000, right? And you're a 500-person company, depending on your turnover. I mean, I'm just throwing out numbers here, but let's say that you lose 10 people a year and that you anticipate your cost to be about $500,000 of retraining and rehiring, right? What if you implemented Blueboard and it cost $100,000, but you're able to stop 4 out of the 10 people who are going to leave because they now have a better relationship with their manager? Probably not the best numerical example, but you can see sort of where I'm going with that, proving the quantitative value. Another way we've seen it done is wellness incentives. If you can incentivize your people to be more healthy and you're able to drop your insurance premiums, how much savings does that create? There's different ways to do it, but it's typically either stats-based or business case-based, and your rep can help you with that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think in summary, it's really about knowing your audience. A lot of us attended a great conference yesterday with CultureAmp, and the conversation was, how do you talk about programs, for example, with an executive team or a leadership group? And whether it's stat-based, whether it's story-based, like really just showing photos again of what people are doing out and about and the value that Blueboard's bringing back to the office. It's really about knowing your audience and making sure that you're resonating with them and the way that they like to digest and get excited about new opportunities. Perfect. We're going to take about 2 more questions. Feel free to share those if anyone has one, and then we'll let you guys get off with the rest of your day. And I think just thinking about some of the learnings we talked about today, it was really about building value and just thinking through, again, like how's the best way we can get Blueboard live and running. So we're super excited for any follow-up questions you might have as well after the webinar. It might be something that you're saving and wanting to think more about. So as those are coming to mind, even in the next day or 2, you can always reach out to us. Taylor and I have our contact information here on the screen. You can reach me at Morgan@Blueboard or Taylor@Blueboard.com.
Cool. Well, yeah, thanks for joining, everyone. I think we can wrap up. If you have any specific questions that didn't get addressed, shoot us an email. Would also be interested to hear feedback. I think this is definitely a more tactical webinar than we typically do. It's also more Blueboard focused. So whether or not it was too much Blueboard, too tactical, or just the right amount, we'd love to hear from you guys. But yeah, thanks so much for joining, and hope to chat with you, some of you later on.
Sounds good. Have a good day, everyone.